Thank you very much for coming, everyone. And thank you to Boat Concept for hosting us. Boat Concept is taking a big risk with you guys coming in here and not spilling on the furniture. So thank you for being such a good crowd.
That's why there's no red wine.
There's no white wine here. But thank you. And I'm especially pleased to present Bahman Panohi to you. I met Bahman a year ago here in Boston, and I was immediately impressed with his demeanor, his calm. He's an amazingly calm person. And then when I saw his calligraphy, I was blown away. I just love his calligraphy, and I hope you love it too. And he is both a calligrapher and a musician, as you will see. Now the calligraphy is on the walls here and behind me, and Bahman is going to perform for us in a minute. I want to say a couple of things about Bahman and his art. There's a book here that I'm going to show you a little bit from. This is a book about Rudaki and his poetry. So this is a Persian poet from antiquity, and if you see in the book, there's an English poem on the left, and there's a Persian poem on the right, and then each line here is, or some of the lines in here, Bahman has taken a line, and then he's thought of it spatially as a piece of calligraphy. So each of these pieces of calligraphy here are a line of poetry from Rudaki. Okay, that's how it works. And if you see, there's a little notice by each of the pieces of calligraphy saying what the meaning of that particular is. If you go into this book, you'll be able to read the whole poem. So it's an art that goes back to antiquity and has a lot of profundity to it. Bahman has deep roots in Iranian culture. He's from a family that has a lot of interest and activity in the Iranian arts. And there's a story about Bahman from his childhood that his mother said a word, it was soup in Iranian. And this was before Bahman was able to actually write. But with the word soup, he was already thinking in terms of, how could you do this as calligraphy? It's really true. So Bahman has soaked up the culture of Iran, and I think you can see it, you can sense it in the calligraphy and in the music. He's come far. He's performed already in the Carnegie Hall, and he will soon have an auction at Christie's in London and so on. So we're very fortunate to have him here. He's also particularly interested in the relationship between music and calligraphy. And he's interested also in innovative techniques. So calligraphy is actually something that is written, on a letter size. And he has had to invent new techniques and new pens, new nibs for pens, in order to write calligraphy in this size. That you will only find Bahman's calligraphy like this. Okay. So, to my mind, this is an art that is of a piece that spells calmness and serenity. And now I want to ask Sasan Tabatabai, the author of this book, to come up and say a couple of words about Rudaki and his poetry before he then turns it over to Bahman. Thank you. Sasan.
Rudaki is a very major poet for us. Rudaki is a 10th century Persian poet, and usually considered to be the father of Persian poetry. He's an innovator as far as technique goes, as far as historical precedents. He was a court poet to the Amir of Bukhara at the time, the Samanids, who ruled northeastern Persia. That is where this renaissance of Persian literature came about after the Arab conquest. So you have a period of 300 years where Middle Persian, written Pahlavi really, kind of dies out, and it reemerges written in the Arabic alphabet, what we see here today. And Rudaki becomes our first major poet in that. Rudaki's poetry is, there's a lot of didactic material in Rudaki's poetry. Right? He gives you a lot of advice, how to live your life, how to deal with loss. So very often what we do is we turn back to a poem from a poet from 1,000 years ago, 1,000+ years ago, writing in New Persian, really something we understand today. And what Bahman has done is taken lines from this poetry and presented it to you as art form, as calligraphy, but also something that, can talk to you, can really, the lines come alive, they can, as poetry is supposed to do, it can sing to you. I'll just give you one very quick example. This one you see on your right, that's the final line of a poem, the penultimate line of a poem, that Rudaki writes to the Amir of Bukhara on the death of his father. The poem starts, Ey an ke ghamguni o sezavai, you who are sad, who suffer. It goes through telling him, really giving him advice how to deal with loss, and really arrives at the penultimate line, what Bahman has done the calligraphy here. Beh anke me biyari o bogsari. At the end of your grief, the best thing to do is really bring out the wine and drink it. So drink your wine, and we're going to listen to Bahman play some music for us. That wasn't Bahman. Bahman plays some classical Persian instruments. And his work has really been concerned, really focused on the connection between the written word, the visual experience of it, and the musical experience of it as well. Bahman.